What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, January 18th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 8:19 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East and Eastern Europe. So, I want to update you on the situation between Iran and Pakistan. And before I do that, I want to just update you on some very concerning information coming from the UN nuclear agency, the International Atomic Energy Agency. Apparently, inspectors at the IAEA figure Iran now has sufficient quantities of highly enriched uranium to build several atomic warheads. This was stated by the Director General of the IAEA, Rafael Grossi, and he said this to Bloomberg News on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum Summit, which ends tomorrow at noon. Okay, so the International Atomic Energy Agency says they have enough enriched uranium to build several nuclear warheads, guys. Okay, so I'm telling you, the US and Israel are going to have to launch a strike on Iran soon. They've been tripling their uranium production. So this is very serious, guys. And Iran has called Pakistan's operation on Iranian territory last night disproportionate and unacceptable. And apparently, Pakistani fighter jets crossed into Iranian airspace last night 40 to 50 kilometers deep. Okay, so it was actually Pakistani fighter jets that also were involved, and they flew into Iranian airspace. And the Israeli president, Isaac Herzog, called on the international community on Thursday to create a very strong coalition against an evil empire emanating from Iran. Okay, so you see how now the focus is turning to Iran. And I want to just update you guys on U.S. nuclear forces being on high alert. So we still have one nuclear war command and control plane up in the air over Nevada right now. Two of them have since landed, one in Tucson and one at Warner Robins. But we still have this one up here in Nevada. And earlier today, we had several of these in the air, at least three at one time, and a total of, I think, six today. Okay. But not all six were in the air, but they were rotating. All right. We had a lot of emergency action messages as well, which are nuclear attack options broadcasted by the Pentagon to U.S. nuclear forces. And earlier this evening, we had two KC-135 aerial refuelers doing loops off the coast of Long Island. And this is pretty interesting. Not sure if they were refueling some type of nuclear warplane with its transponder off, or if they were doing an exercise of some kind. Very interesting and pretty unusual. And Iran is now claiming that in the Pakistani operation yesterday, that 3 Iranian women and 4 kids were killed in Pakistan's retaliatory strikes in Iran. Okay, you can see the headline here from Iran International. So Iran is calling Pakistan's operation disproportionate and unacceptable, and they're claiming that several women and children were killed in the strike. So I think Iran is going to launch back at Pakistan, and I think it's just going to escalate from there. I wanted to also mention Prepper Tribe. Some of you guys may know who he is. He's here on YouTube, Prepper Tribe. Check him out. If you haven't followed him, you should definitely follow him. He lives near Patuxent River, which is a naval station. And he said today there was an unusual amount of military planes in the area, lots of choppers, and potentially a doomsday plane flying with its transponder off, and lots of fighter jets. that's just another sign that U.S. nuclear forces are on high alert this evening after Pakistan launched missiles and airstrikes into Iranian territory. And the conflict between Pakistan and Iran is escalating, according to the official news agency of the IRGC. Iran announced military exercises in Balochistan's Sistan province just hours after Pakistan attacked targets inside its territory. A number of advanced systems will be used for the first time in the exercise, which will be conducted in a completely real format and not in a simulation, said the commander of the air defense base, Hatem al-Anbiya. Okay, so now Iran is doing some type of military exercise in the same area where Pakistan launched those strikes, okay, in the Sistan province of Balochistan. So that's southeastern Iran near the border of Pakistan. And UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on Iran and Islamabad to exercise maximum restraint. The Secretary General is deeply concerned about the recent exchange of military strikes between Iran and Pakistan, which have reportedly caused casualties on both sides. Iran's foreign ministry has called Pakistan's attack on Iranian soil unacceptable and said it considers the security of the people and the territorial integrity of the country its red line. So basically saying that Pakistan crossed a red line. The Iraqi foreign minister launched an unprecedented verbal attack on Iran following the missile launches towards Erbil in northern Iraq. In an interview with the CNN network in Davos, Switzerland at the WEF meeting, the minister Fawad Hussein said Tehran is not willing or able to attack Israel, so it hunted for victims around it and therefore they attacked in Erbil. The minister also denied the existence of facilities belonging to Mossad operating in Erbil. So there were a lot of people saying, oh, they hit a Mossad headquarters, when Iran launched that missile into Iraq. Oh, it was a Mossad headquarters. Well, here we have the Iraqi foreign minister saying that that is BS. Okay, there are no Mossad headquarters or buildings in Erbil, according to him. Okay, so we can put that theory to rest. And the U.S. launched another strike on Yemen today, destroying 2 ballistic missile launch sites. And the Iran-backed Houthis have targeted a U.S.-owned oil tanker today, the Chem Ranger, sailing through the Gulf of Aden. The Houthi spokesperson Yahya Saree said in a televised announcement, this marks the second consecutive incident in the Gulf of Aden in which the Houthis carried out an anti-ship missile attack on U.S.-owned ships. Okay, so this is the second ship owned by the U.S. that has been attacked, okay, in the Red Sea. And let me just read to you this official statement from the U.S. Central Command on their strike today. This is the 6th strike that the U.S. has launched on the Houthis in Yemen as part of an ongoing multinational effort to protect freedom of navigation and prevent attacks on maritime vessels in the Red Sea. On January 18th, U.S. Central Command forces conducted strikes on 2 Houthi anti-ship missiles that were aimed into the southern Red Sea and were prepared to launch. U.S. forces identified the missiles in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen at approximately 3:40 p.m. Yemen time and determined they were an imminent threat to merchant vessels and U.S. Navy ships in the region. U.S. forces subsequently struck and destroyed the missiles in self-defense. Okay, so it's continuing to escalate, guys. And here we have an official posting from the UK MTO, that's the British Maritime Organization. And here they describe one of the incidents that occurred today. It says here the UK MTO has received a report of an incident 115 nautical miles southeast of Aden, Yemen. Master reports unidentified, uncrewed aerial system in close proximity to a merchant vessel and explosion in the water approximately 30 meters off his port side. Coalition forces responding. Vessel and crew are safe. Vessel proceeding to the next port. So this is one of two incidents that occurred today. Here was another incident. The UK MTO received a report of 4 unidentified, uncrewed aerial systems flying close to a merchant vessel 85 nautical miles southeast of Ash Shear, Yemen. Vessel reported 1 UAS hit the water approximately 800 meters from the vessel. Okay, so in one of the incidents, the drone hit the water 30 meters off the side, and in the other incident, 800 meters off the side. So these are two separate incidents, okay? And one of them was an American oil tanker, all right? And here we have a picture showing one of the ships that was hit yesterday by the Houthis. This is the Genko Pakardi, and you can see this charred section here on the right side of the ship. Okay, you can see this black charred area here, and here's a closer look. So the drone actually hit the side. Okay, so this is pretty serious damage, and thank God nobody was standing there when that thing hit. And here we just have some footage that was published by Pakistan showing them launching missiles into Iran. Sort of looks like a HIMARS almost. Looks like they shout Allah Akbar. And you can actually see the launcher here. If you look closely on the lower right corner, you can see the actual launcher here under the moonlight. So this is some type of, looks like potentially a trailer mounted launcher. Pretty interesting. So pretty crazy. And then here we have some footage that was released showing this MQ-9 Reaper drone that was shot down in Iraq near Baghdad by the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. That's one of the Iranian proxies. So check this out. You can see pieces of the drone here. Okay, the MQ-9 drone is believe it's a reconnaissance drone. So pretty crazy, guys. They took down one of our drones. Absolutely insane. And they're very expensive. And here we have footage of the U.S. military responding to the crash site of the drone to collect the pieces. So this way, classified technology doesn't get discovered by the wrong people. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, they have brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnYprepper.com. The link is in the description below this video. But this 3-month emergency food supply is freeze-dried, so it has a 25-year shelf life. And it's all contained within 6 rugged, water-resistant buckets. And free shipping is included. So again, use the link preparewithnYprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. It's really a no-brainer. 25-year shelf life. You don't have to worry about your food preps going bad. You don't have to worry about rotating anything. And it's all contained within 6 buckets. So you can find the space to store 6 buckets, guys. And they also have a general store. If you click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. You can access their general store, and they have all kinds of prepping and survival items for sale. They have MREs, they have survival seeds, they have potassium iodide, they have survival bars. So check it out, preparewithnyprepper.com, to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video. And here we have some more footage showing this MQ-9 Reaper drone crashing down from the sky.
هاي بس بيت الله والسيارة. لا يا الله.
Just to reiterate, nobody was injured. This was a drone that crashed, and there were no people anywhere nearby. Crashed into an open area.
هاي طيارة.
And the Houthis are reiterating that they will respond to the US and UK operations against them. They said they will not go without a response and will not go unpunished. And the Indian Navy said today that its ship had to rescue crew members of a US cargo ship in the Gulf of Aden after the ship was attacked by Houthi rebels. Wow, so the Indian Navy coming to the rescue of a U.S. cargo ship, guys. The Indian Navy deployed 10 warships to the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. They have 10 warships there now, so they rescued one of our ships. Obviously, our government is not telling us the full extent of the situation if the Indian Navy has to come out and say that they rescued one of our ships, okay? So you always have to take everything the government says, the military says, with a grain of salt. You cannot always assume that everything they say is 100% what actually happened. Okay, they are not required to tell you the truth or the full situation, okay? So that's why I always get confused when a lot of people say, well, that's not official information. I'm going to wait for the military to release an official statement, as if what the military says is actually true of what happened. It's not, okay? It's usually redacted to a certain extent, okay, to prevent public panic. And yesterday, the Minister of Defense of Israel told the Israeli Defense Force High Command officers not to plan for vacations for the summer because the war in the north is not going to be done in the winter. Wow, guys. Okay, so the Israeli Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, telling his senior officers not to go on vacation this summer, not to plan for vacations, because they're not going to go after Hezbollah or invade Lebanon in the winter. They're going to do it in the summer. Okay, so that's in line with what I think is going to happen. I think in the coming weeks, or maybe within the next few months, we're going to see Israel go after Hezbollah once they finish up what they're doing in Gaza. And on Monday, British Secretary of Defense Grant Shapps said that the world has entered a pre-war period in which adversaries like Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran pose an unprecedented threat. And NATO has announced the start of its largest exercise in decades, Steadfast Defender 2024. The exercises will start on January 22nd, and that's actually sooner than they originally said. They said the exercises would start in February. Now they're starting in just 4 days, guys. Okay? So that's a surprise. About 90,000 troops will take part in the exercise. 90,000 troops, guys. And Britain is going to be sending 20,000 of their troops into Eastern Europe. And I personally believe that this is a cover for a deployment of forces to NATO's eastern flank. I think that they're using the cover of an exercise to position their forces. So this way it doesn't look obvious to Russia that they're moving forces, okay, to Russia's border, but that's exactly what they're doing. And those troops are probably going to stay there after the exercises are over. And China is likely to demonstrate force against Taiwan in the near term because of the recent election, the head of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command said, and they will probably blame the United States. Okay. So this is very concerning, guys. And I reported in my last update today that China started doing military exercises around Taiwan. Okay. And Netanyahu says he told the U.S. that he opposes a Palestinian state in any post-war scenario. And the EU Parliament has called for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war, conditional on the release of all of the detained people by Hamas and the complete dismantling of the Hamas group. Okay, so I'm actually surprised that the EU Parliament would support that. The European Parliament has called for a permanent ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza, which should be conditional on the release of all detained people held in Gaza and the dismantling of terror group Hamas. The resolution, adopted by 312 votes in favor and 131 votes against and 72 abstentions during the plenary session of the EU Assembly in Strasbourg. So this is pretty interesting. And a man living in Virginia has been sentenced to 2 years in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release for criminal conduct in connection with a scheme to unlawfully export heavy equipment from the U.S. to Iran by routing the shipments through the UAE, the Justice Department said Thursday. And the Jordanian Air Force tonight launched an operation at drug dealers and drug smugglers in the town of Orman in the Sawida district of Syria. The sites that were struck were associated with pro-Iranian militias. At least 6 deaths were reported from the operation. So this is pretty serious, guys. Jordan launched an operation in Syria striking pro-Iranian militias in Syria. Wow, that is pretty interesting. And apparently there was a rocket that was fired from Syria into northern Israel, into the Golan Heights, and there were no casualties reported. And the French ambassador to Russia was summoned to the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs in connection with the claims of the Russian Ministry of Defense that French mercenaries were killed in the Russian strike on Kharkiv the other day. Paris declared that there were no French mercenaries in Ukraine. So Russia accusing France of having mercenaries in Ukraine. And here we have the headline from Reuters today: NATO to kick off biggest drills in decades with some 90,000 troops. Okay, so Reuters is putting this on their main page. That means this is a serious situation. When the mainstream media starts to catch on to something, that means it's serious, guys. Okay, I want to just update you on the GPS jamming situation in Poland. So it appears that Russia was testing some type of electronic warfare system on Tuesday, the 16th, 2 days ago. And you can see all of northern Poland experiencing severe GPS jamming on that day. And what's interesting is at the same time, we had multiple NATO reconnaissance planes flying in Poland and the Baltics. Here's one of them, a Bombardier Challenger 650, flying near the Kaliningrad border. And then here's a U.S. RC-135 reconnaissance plane flying near Kaliningrad and Belarus. Okay, so Russia's preparing, guys. Okay, they're not testing electronic warfare systems on Poland for no reason. Look at this jamming, guys. This is like almost half the country of Poland experienced some jamming on Tuesday. Okay, if there was a war, that's what they would try to do. They would try to jam Poland's GPS systems so their fighter jets and their missile systems can't acquire targets as easily. Okay, so that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back with more breaking news updates tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon below so you get notified when I post these emergency updates. And I might go live tomorrow night. I'm not sure yet. I didn't go live again tonight because I'm feeling pretty worn out because I had to travel a lot the last 3 days or so. But I am looking forward to doing another live stream tomorrow night potentially, or this weekend. So stay warm. We are in the middle of a polar vortex, an Arctic blast. We have Arctic air pouring in from the pole. So stay warm. Make sure you have a winter survival kit in your vehicle. Make sure you have spare heat in your home in case your primary heat fails. You should have at least a buddy heater and a propane tank so you can have immediate heat. Okay. And make sure you have good outerwear. Okay. It's worth to invest a little bit of money in some good outerwear. So have a good night, guys. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.